ready.
Okay, let's go. Good morning, everybody. My name is Mary. We're going to do about 45 minutes this morning of exercise that is based on Physio Pilates. Actually, because I don't know you and I don't know what your background is coming to exercise, I'm going to do pretty much a beginner level today. That said, you will find some of the exercises, the endurance of it will give you, will be a little bit demanding, and that's good. I caution you all to pay attention to your own bodies because you know where your strengths are as well as the areas that you need to pay attention to. So if we're doing something that doesn't feel quite right, just dial it back. Either dial it back or drop it off and join us in a little bit. That said, I don't think you'll find it overly demanding. I do hope that you'll find that it will release some tight areas, that you'll feel yourself starting to strengthen some other areas, and that overall you come out of it feeling refreshed. So the basis of Physio Pilates is, number one, it's very cautious. We build the steps in the muscle development in a very slow, very incremental way, so that it's all about doing the steps with the right form, so that you're not trying to jump ahead or to do more than your body is ready to take on. It's kind of like building the foundation of a house. If you haven't got that concrete foundation in place, the rest of it's going to be pretty shaky. And a lot of our emphasis is on what I call the small stabilizer muscles around the joints. So typically when we work out, we use a lot of the large muscle groups. So the quads get used, the hamstrings, the biceps, areas like that. They will also come into play, but mainly what we're focusing on are the very underdeveloped stabilizer muscles that exist around all of the joints. And by working them, they give us more range of motion, more flexibility, better balance, and more strength to protect that. So that said, let's get going, and we'll spend about 45 minutes, I think, doing this, and I hope you enjoy it. So you'll need a mat. I work from my bare feet. If you're not bare feet, you can try otherwise, but whatever works for you. And at most, what you will need for today's class would be maybe a towel or something to put under your head. It's not necessary, but if you have a towel or a small cushion, you might just find it helpful as we move along. All right, so let's start the class. First, we're going to stand hip width apart. So in Pilates, when you talk about hip width apart, it's not the width of the broad hip, but it's more to locate your hip bones, and your legs would kind of fall down in line from there. So, your feet are maybe 5-6 inches apart. So let's just start by dropping one knee and the other slowly. We're not going fast. And as you're doing this, pay attention to getting a little bit of movement here through the pelvis. The pelvis is an area that does tighten up, stiffens up over time, especially because of how it's joined in with the spine. And a little bit of encouragement for movement is always welcome. So let's just do that. All right, come out of that. Let's just do a nice, slow, easy roll of the shoulders. So we're going to start taking it up and back and around. What I like to remind people here is there are really 4 positions we're looking for with the shoulders. So we're going forward, we're going up, we're going back, and we're going down. So depending on how much liberation you've got in your shoulder blades, you'll either be able to get a really nice positioning with this or not. Wherever your starting point is, just go with it. And when you're coming in this upper position, don't squish too much. You really don't want to add more tension around the neck. Now let's take it in the other direction. So we're rolling those shoulders in the other direction. And remember to breathe during this class. And I'll have a little bit more on the breathing as we move through this. All right, let that go, shake that out. Let's go wider with our feet. You're going to soften your knees just to kind of brace yourself here. And we're going to do a little more release of motion through the shoulders. So you're going to reach over to one side, but you're not twisting the body. You're just reaching the arm across and just pull back, bringing that arm back towards the wall. So reach and pull. And reach. Doesn't matter where your other hand is at all. You're just trying to get some more movement through the shoulder, through the middle of the upper back, a little bit down the back as you move through this. Your knees are helping you just get a fluid movement here so that you're not feeling any strain anywhere. Let's do 3 more. Pressing that arm back toward the wall or toward whatever's behind you as you do this. And last one here, and bring that down. Okay, let's move to the you might end up doing 8, but I go by feel for the most part, so bear with me. And reaching, and remember to pull that elbow back, because here you're reaching and getting a nice stretch across the back of the shoulder. When you're bringing your elbow back, you're opening up across the front of the shoulders. So both sides of it are getting a good workout, and we're going to do 2 more after this. Let's go. All right, shake that out. And let's stand again, a little bit wider than feet hip width apart. We're still going to work the upper part of the body. If you're wondering why we're working the other part of the body, excuse me, my phone is being nasty. I'm going to just move it and widen. So we're doing the upper part of the body because the upper part of the body is connected to the lower part of the body, and we have to take care of what's happening elsewhere in order to focus on the core and hips. So standing more than hip width apart, let's just reach across and up. You're trying to keep your hips facing forward. So you're trying to avoid a twist if you can, and you're trying to make this move come from the middle upper back. All right, other arm reaches across and up. Let's take that first arm, bring it across the front. Remember, hips are facing forward. Other arm the other way. Now we're going to go lower and reach toward the outside of our knee, again moving from the middle or upper back. And other side. Let's do that sequence one more time now that we know what to expect. And what we try to do, and I'll remind you again, and probably again, we try to keep the arms straight when we do a lot of these exercises. I'm just going to take a moment. Maybe you want to test it out with me. So if you bring your arms up, if your arms are straight, if you have the kink out of your elbow, you'll get a lot more work happening along this side. If you can't bring it all the way up, don't worry about it. Focus on the straight arm. If you have to go a little bit wider at times to get that straight arm, then do that. So when we were doing this, we were not aiming for the crook in the arm, we were aiming for a straight arm. So let that go and relax that. Let's take the effort down to the feet. So our feet are going to have to do quite a bit of work over the run of the day and a little bit over the next 40 minutes. So let's see if we can just loosen up what happens in our feet. So typically, over the years, we tend to start walking as if our foot was one solid block, when in fact, we have, I think it's 26 bones, 33 muscles in each foot, and I forget how many other connections. And so we want to loosen those up and get them to work for us. So let's just very easily, looking down at your foot maybe for a moment to see what you're doing, and you're going to roll up your heel at the back. You're going to come to a point where you're trying to get a little bit of a bend in the base of your big toe especially, and maybe the other toes. Some of you won't be able to do this. You'll have a lot of stiffness in the joints, and maybe your foot will only go so far. But just roll that up and see what you can do. My physiotherapist tells me this is one of the few exercises where you can actually go into the discomfort zone without hurting yourself. So maybe you want to challenge yourself a little bit. So bring that foot down, pressing the heel into the floor, and then roll up again into that same position you had. And roll it down and bring it up again. Maybe put a little bit of weight onto that knee so that there's a little bit more weight in that foot. And let that go and shake it out. All right, let's go to the other foot. Same thing. We're just rolling up the heel, coming up into the bend. They're trying to get a bend in the base of those toes. And slowly roll it down. Press your heel into the floor. And let's roll it up again. And down. And last time, bring it up. Maybe put a little bit more pressure in that foot. And take a look at what your foot is doing. There's a good chance that your foot is, here, I'll use this one so you can maybe see better. Your foot is maybe rolling out toward the side because it's avoiding doing the bend in the base of that big toe. Align your foot so that it's straight, and if you don't get as much of a bend, fine, because this is the right position. So let that go and shake it out. All right. Let's move into a little bit of balance work, because the balance work, well, it's good to have good balance as we move forward in these years. It helps avoid injury. It helps us move more easily. And also the balance exercises that we do assist with the development of those stabilizer muscles. So what I'm going to ask you to do is to come into a bit of a lunge position first. So you're here. You want to keep your body over this leg. In other words, your shoulders are over your hips and your ears, more or less over your shoulders. You want to avoid leaning forward because then we'll be out of balance. If you find you're a little tippy here, just go wider with your stance. Get this position, hold your belly button in maybe a little tiny bit as if you're trying to get your belly button to have a closer look at your spine. Once you've got this position here, just scissor your arms. Just back and forth, nice and slowly. And breathe. Remember, we're trying to keep the arms straight. So if you only go this high, that's fine. See if you can get that arm straight. And you're trying to keep your hips stable. You're trying to keep your core like it's a tree trunk. So it's not moving. The arms are just windmilling around either side. Let's do 3. And 2. And last one coming up. And bring that down, come out of that, shake that leg. Actually, let's just take a moment to drop one knee and the other, same as we did at the beginning of the class, just to promote some fluidity here through the hip zone, the pelvis. All right, go back into position, and this time the other leg is going to come forward. So in my case, my right foot is coming forward now. I don't know where you started, but try to make it the other one. Come down into this position. Take a moment to make sure you're sturdy. Take a moment to connect to that belly button or the abs around the belly button area. Make sure you're pulling in just a little bit. You're not doing it within an inch of your life. Just 30% effort maybe. Whoops. And so now the arms are going to come straight up overhead. And then you're going to move them out in this position so that one hand is facing forward and one behind you. And make it active. Reach toward opposite walls. Bring that back up to center. And let's go in the other direction. And back. And just go from side to side. And as you do this, again, you're trying to keep your hips facing forward. So you're trying to avoid the twisting with it like that. Just keep nice and strong. Paying attention to our lower abs and making sure we're pulling them in a little bit. We're nice and strong through the trunk. And let's do one more time each side. Here we go here. And up. And other side. Up and down, and come out of that, shake that out. All right, you're going to stand somewhat toward the back of your mat, if you're working on a mat. Your feet are going to be hip width apart, and first you're going to start by just raising your heels off the floor. So they're just clearing the floor. If you're very good at this, you might come up higher. You decide what you want to do. Bring them down. Again, let's just bring those heels up and down. If you find it's a bit of a help, you might want to have one hand on the wall as you get used to what we're doing. And so you'd just be coming up. Just give you a little confidence. And down. All right, the next time we come up, we're going to bring the arms up with us. So the heels are coming up and the arms are coming up. And slowly lower the arms as you lower the heels. Again, same thing. Oops. And down. The next time we're coming down, we're actually going to do a spinal roll down. So we're up here. We're releasing the arms, lowering the heels, tuck the chin into toward the chest, and start to roll your spine down one vertebrae at a time, starting from the back of the neck, very slowly trying to articulate through every vertebrae. Very slowly, soften your knees, bend your knees, because the objective of this, as you roll toward the floor, is not necessarily to touch the floor. The whole objective is to get a nice rounding in the back and the spine. And bending your knees a little bit of a micro bend will help you do that. Take a deep breath at the bottom. And as you slowly release that breath, start to build your spine back up from the bottom, very slowly moving up toward the middle of the back. Come on up. Put your shoulder back in position and bring your chin up. Let's do that one more time. And this time, when we get to the bottom, we're going to make our way down to the mat. So I'll let you do that at your own pace. And the other exercises will be done from the floor. So let's bring that up. And slowly release the heels and the arms. Tuck the chin. Slowly, very slowly articulate through the spine. Pay attention to the areas that are stiff in your back because we all have them. They're all in different spots. And that's the area that's going to give you a little more resistance as you try to actually move. So before we go to the mat, though, you might like to just take a moment and relax here. Appreciate the fact that gravity is helping you release the arms, release the head a little bit, maybe nod a little bit from one side to the other. And then slowly make your way down to the mat. So we're going to do cats and cows. I believe in Judy's yoga, she calls it cats and dogs. We do cows in Pilates. So what you're going to want to make sure is that your hips are over your knees. So we have a tendency sometimes when we're down on all fours like this to start leaning our weight forward, and that's just harder on the wrist. So make sure you've got good alignment back here and that your hands are under your shoulders. Your fingers are going to be wide apart, and you're going to get lots of contact in the floor with your fingertips. So with the cat portion, we're rolling the back up. We're looking back gently towards our thighs. And to get an additional rolling in the back, we're kind of pushing the pelvis a little bit forward. Breathing out in the cat. And then in cow, you're just releasing that, letting the midsection slump, maybe bringing the shoulder blades a little bit closer together. And then breathe out to cat. And in for cow. In Physio Pilates, we want to always protect the neck. And so we avoid bending it back. So you'll notice as I'm doing my cow, I'm still looking down at the mat or maybe a little bit forward, but at no point do I get a crease in the back of my neck here. Let's just do a couple more of these. Breathing in with cow. All right, so I'd like everybody to find your cat position. And then you're going to keep that cat as you come back toward your heels. So you're coming back. You may not be touching your heels. Don't worry about that. Again, the objective is here for your rounded back. If you can come and sit on your heels, that's great, but you still want to keep that rounded position of the cat that you started out with. Your hands are reaching forward. Take a moment to walk your hands over to the right-hand side, and you're going to reach the fingertips of that left hand just a little bit forward. But you're going to keep your weight on your heels. The body is not moving over sideways. You're keeping your main part of your body in the center of the mat over your knees. Deep breath in here. Let's really work the ribs by pressing, filling the lungs and getting the press out through the side of the ribs. One more time, big deep breath. And walking your hands to center and then over to the other side. This time, you'll be reaching the fingertips of your right hand just forward a little bit so that you get a nice long stretch along this side. Once in that position, take a deep breath. Feeling the rib cage expand on this side. And release. And again. And then walking your hands back to center. Let's come out of that. We're going to move into some core exercises. And most of you may be aware, but I'll just mention it just because I like to touch all the bases. The core is not just abdominal muscles. So the core is all of the body, back and front, from about toward the top of your ribs down into your hip zone. So even when we're working on hip work, we actually consider it sort of part of the core, but mainly when we refer to the core, it's the muscles through all of here. And the back muscles have to be as strong as the front muscles in order to give you good alignment. So let's just do a few fairly doable, I think, exercises. So you'll come onto your back. If you've got something under your head, this is where you might want to use it. It'll just position your neck in a more comfortable position. So your feet are planted. And again, the positioning of those feet are about hip width apart. So they're not leaning into each other and they're not going wide. Just see if you can get that nice alignment in through there. So let's start out. Make sure your shoulders are nicely planted on the floor. You're going to have one leg go long and low, and the opposite arm is going to come straight overhead, thumb in a position where it would be aiming toward the floor. Bring those two back, and then let's move to the other side. So one leg goes long, the opposite arm goes long overhead. Both are straight, and the leg is not touching the floor. It's just hovering at whatever point you decide is comfortable for you. Bring those back, and let's just move side to side. And here, maybe think about getting your breathing to work with you instead of against you. So you might breathe out with the effort. Breathe in with the easier part. Out with the effort. In with the easy. I don't get too hung up on which way the breathing goes. It's whatever works for you. So you might find it easier to actually do a breath in when you're reaching and out when you're bringing it back. What we're paying attention to here as we move from side to side is this core in the middle is just staying like that proverbial tree trunk. It's not moving. So arms and legs, your appendages are moving. You're keeping your core really strong. You're keeping your spine in neutral. So actually, let's just come out a moment and let's review what neutral is. So if I were to kind of pick up my bum and drop it onto the floor, it would naturally fall in a neutral position. If I roll my back into the floor, that's imprint, and that's not neutral. And if I find I'm doing ab work and it's kind of hard and I'm straining, my back will probably arch, which is something we definitely want to avoid here. So take a moment, let's go back to what we were doing. So one arm long, one leg long, and you're using your abs here. You're pulling your abs in, you're pulling that belly button toward the spine to help you keep that back in a neutral position. So side to side, just a few more. All slow, so I'd like everybody just to dial it down for a moment and take it nice and slow. The slower it is, the more it's working the muscle, contrary to what we previously might have been taught in exercise. We're getting our endurance and our muscle workout, in this case, from moving slowly. And let's do one last time on this side. And come out of that, bring your knees toward your chest and just relax for a moment. It might feel good to roll around a little bit. And just relax. What I try to do during these classes is take enough little breaks to release the tension so that we're not building tension in different parts of the body in a cumulative way, so that at the end of class we've got more tension than we really wanted. We want to avoid all tension if we can. Okay, here's what we're going to do with the next exercise. Your hands are going to be on the floor, palms facing the ceiling. The palms are facing the ceiling so that your chest is nice and open here and we're not rolling our shoulders in. So take a moment to make sure that that's the case. And then you're going to bring one leg up to what we call tabletop. So it's not coming toward the chest. You're getting a 90-degree bend at the hip and again at the knee. And you're going to bring that down. You're going to bring the other leg up to 90 degrees and down. All the moves are slow. You're coming up slowly and you're releasing slowly. So let's do this version a little bit more. And breathe. Out with the effort, in with the easy. Now I'm going to offer an alternative. You can keep doing this, or you can try this other version. So with the other version, we're bringing one leg up to tabletop, then the second one comes up to meet it. The effort on the abdominal wall is quite a bit more, as well as the back. And then first leg comes down, and the second leg comes down. If you've tried that and you're finding it's tugging at your lower back, please go back to the first version. That's part of building that foundation. You could reach this version in a short time, quite probably, but it's important to do it without tugging at that lower back. Let's keep on doing this. If some of you have been practitioners of this kind of exercise before and you'd like a little bit more of a challenge, you can bring your arms up toward the ceiling. Your shoulders are still relaxed on the floor, but your hands would be reaching toward the ceiling as you do this. Otherwise, keep your hands on the floor and continue whatever version you've been doing. And remember to keep those abs engaged. So you're trying to bring belly button toward the spine. Or as somebody described to me, I thought this was a very apt cue. Think about having a diamond in your belly button and you're trying to surround it and hold on to it with all of the little muscles around the belly button. So again, I'm trying to pay attention to that 90-degree here. And we're going to do it one last time. Here we go, slowly up. And back. All right, and relax that. You can either bring your knees into your chest, or for you, what might feel good is a bit of a long stretch. Do whatever feels good. All right, I'm going to introduce you to the ab prep, which is, if you were observing this exercise from afar and you walked into the room, you'd say, that is so lame. These people are not working hard at all. We are. It's about precision, and it's about those building blocks. So your hands are going to come behind your head and support the weight of your head here. Your feet are still planted on the floor. You're going to take a breath in, and as you take a breath in, you're going to nod your chin a little bit. You're still going to leave enough space under your chin to think about maybe holding an egg there or something. So it's not a real hard crunch at all. It's just a little nod to lengthen the back of that neck. So breath in, nod the chin, and then come on up, keeping your head in line with your body and not pulling on that head or that neck. So you're trying to rest the weight of your head in your hands and bring that down. So now that you know what we're doing, let's continue doing this slowly. And it's not about distance from the floor. It is about engaging the abdominal muscles. Some of you might not even get your shoulders off the floor. You might have a nice tensing here through the whole abdominal area, and you want to keep this in line and bring that back. So here we go. Breath in first, breathe out as you come up, and hold it for a beat and bring it down. And repeat, and down. And if your body hasn't been listening to you, remind it to not pull on your head or your neck. You're just trying to get that head to rest in your hands. Another way to think about it is that as you come up, you're actually leading with the chest. Think about leading with the chest, and that may take the neck a little bit out of action. Let's do 3 more. Doesn't matter here really how wide your arms are. You just don't want them totally caved in so that your chest is caving in. So you might have your elbows in your peripheral vision. And let's do one last one coming up here. Remember to pull that belly button toward the spine so that you're really protecting your back, and come out of that and relax and bring the knees into the chest. We're going to move on to more of an emphasis on the hips. But before doing that, let's warm up a little bit through that area. You can bring your legs and maybe as wide as your mat. And arms are just on the floor wherever you want them to be. And you're going to roll one knee toward the other one and just go from over to this side, side to side. Legs are wide here. Get as much of a stretch as you feel like getting when you come over to that side. You should be feeling a nice stretch through the side of your hip, a little bit along this whole side of your body maybe. Don't work at this hard. Don't press anything past the point of real discomfort, certainly not pain. And just enjoy the moment. We're also releasing at the back of the hips here, around the SI joints as we roll from side to side. One more time each side. All right, come back to center. We're going to roll over to our side now and start over here. You may want to have something under your head. If you don't have a cushion, don't worry. Just put your arm under your head to act as a cushion. Your knees are going to be bent. And we're going to move into a clamshell move here. But if you'll just take a moment to look closely, because there's a little bit of help I'd like to offer you as we go into this. So our clam shall move our shoulder open here. So it's going to want to kind of roll in and squish in here. Just keep it open. Keep the shoulder open and back. You can be touching the floor if you want for support, or if you want, you can actually put your thumb on this side thumb muscle here so you can feel it contract as you move. The clamshell is just a slow opening and a closing. What we want to do is to make sure the hips are stacked. So what is a stacked hip? An unstacked hip is this top hip sort of slides back, and as we open, we're kind of rolling back a bit. We want to avoid that and to have really good form. The hips are stacked, and you're going to just open up only as far as you can open without getting a bit of rolling motion through that. So let's get going. You're going to start here. So a nice slow opening into clamshell, hold it a beat, and return. Nice and slow return as well. Opening up and return. The slow return, we're fighting gravity, so we're using the weight of our body to actually get more work out of that muscle, or those muscles. These ones really work on those stabilizer muscles around the joint. So they can help prevent some hip injuries and help treat some hip injuries. If any of this hurts you, please dial it down. And we're not doing anything really to our 100% capacity. If you think about what 100% feels like, dial it back to 80 and be content with that. It'll be a better building block. Over time, you will accomplish more than you will by trying to strain it. Your abs are tucked in here the whole time you're doing this. So you're getting about a 30% effort through those abs. So they're staying nice and strong, and that'll help keep you in position. And we're going to do 2 more. And last one coming up here. Here we go. And let's release that. You can relax it by slipping it over the other knee, just getting a comfortable position here. It's good to massage it a little. Feel free to do that. All right. We're going to take that same leg and we're going to bring it out long. So it's going to be at about hip height. And take a moment to actually bring the heel a tiny bit further back. And from this position, relax your foot and then raise the leg and lower. You're not going to lower than about your hip height, but bring it up only as high as you can bring comfortably and bring it down. And it's a slow up and a slow return. Abs are engaged here to keep your core nice and strong so that the only joint that's really moving is the hip joint. Isolating this move, you're trying to keep the knee and the ankle out of the action. Tell them they're on vacation. They don't have to do anything. The hip's got it here. Hip has to do the work. And let's do 2 more. And bring that back and give it a little tiny bit of a rest before we go on to some more for the hips. All right, same leg again. This is all about endurance and building endurance. So the leg comes out long. This time, you're going to turn your foot so that the toes would be pointed somewhat toward the ceiling. And in that position, you're going to raise and lower. Again, it's slow. Really want to get those muscles to develop. And if we go fast, we're actually using momentum. It's kind of a cheat, really. We don't want to cheat. We want to get the most out of this, whatever, 45, 50-minute exercise this morning. All right, bring your foot back to the middle position, and then point your toes toward the floor, heel toward the ceiling, and lift the leg in that position for about 5 moves. Trying to make it slow, controlled moves so that we're not getting a jerky motion here. If you've had enough, dial it down, come down to a rest, This can be fairly demanding on those hip joints. You may be feeling a little bit of a burn by now, in which case let's bring it in for a rest. Give it a massage before we ask it to do one more thing. All right, let's bring it out and let's, sometimes I get people to do small control circles. Today, I'm going to ask you to write your first name in cursive with your foot. So fortunately, my name is pretty short, so I can write it this way and bring it down and relax. Let's take those same exercises over to the other side. So take a moment to readjust yourself. Come on over. And I'll just remind you how we started. You were cushioning your head, your knees were bent, your hips are stacked, and your shoulder's going to be open. So again, your hand can be here to support you, or you can sort of feel this muscle right back here. So it's behind the hip joint and before the big meaty part of the glute. That's the part that's going to be engaged as we open up into clamshell and down and open. And you're remembering to keep your abs engaged here so that your core is nice and strong and you're moving from the hip joint. And you're breathing, I think. And we're really being careful not to roll here. Some of us of a certain vintage remember the Jane Fonda days where you did everything to the max. Some of us people are suffering from that today. So we do things within our capacity and we do them well, and it pays off. Open it and close. Remember, those abs are engaged. If they've started to go loosey-goosey on you, pull them in a little bit. We're going to do 3 more. And again, you can breathe out with the effort, in with the easier. And let's go one last time here as we go up and then slowly come out of it. And let's relax, let that knee slip over the other knee and relax through that hip for a moment. All right, let's bring that working leg out long. And the foot is going to be parallel to the floor as you lift and lower. Lift and lower. Take a moment to maybe bring the heel back a notch and lift and lower. What the leg will want to do, because we always do try to find the easy way out, the leg is going to try to move forward because it's more comfortable in this position, but we want to open up a little bit through the front of that hip and keep it in that position as we lift and lower. Let's do 3 more like this. 2 more. Remember to lower just as slowly as you raised it. And let's come out of that and relax for a moment. And the leg is going to come out long again. Remember to find that position where it feels like it's a little bit further back. It's not really, but it'll feel like that. Turn the toes toward the ceiling. And in that position, lift and lower the leg. And by putting our foot in these different positions, it's actually rotating a little bit how the femur fits into the hip joint. And so it's working all those little muscles from different angles. Let's do 1 more like this. Bring the foot down and then adjust the position of the foot so the toes are toward the floor, and we're going to go toward the ceiling with the heel. And lift and lower. Again. Let's see if we've got one more in us. Bring it up, bring it down, and relax. And give it a nice little massage. Get the blood flowing to those muscles. Also get the muscles to release by doing a nice massage over them. All right. This time, the leg comes out long. And you're going to write your middle name in cursive. If you don't have a middle name, jump right to the surname. So here we go, writing in cursive to get lots of movement through that hip joint. And don't forget to dot your I's and cross your T's. And then bring that leg back to relax. All right, I'm just going to do a little time check here to see where we are. Okay, I think what we're going to do is to come onto our backs. I'm going to just do a stretch or two down here and then move up to a little bit of balance work to finish off the class. So your feet are on the floor and bring one ankle over the other knee for the pretzel or number 4 position, as many people call it, just to get some release through the back of the hip. If you're going to stay in this position, I'd like you to think about moving your knee a little bit further away from your body. So you're kind of opening up through this hip joint a little bit more, as opposed to having it fold in. So think about it being open. If you want a little bit more of a stretch, you can lift your lower leg up off the floor and maybe hold on to it. Whatever position you're in, I'd invite you to sort of move and test, explore here what gives you the best stretch through the muscles in the bum, the glutes. So for me, if I move over a little bit over to that side, it works best. Once you found your sweet spot, hold it. And let's just breathe a few times into this. And release. Come out of that. Give it a little bit of a shake maybe. And then come on to this side. And again, if you're going to keep your foot down here, that's absolutely fine. Maybe open up your knee a little bit more stretch. Lift that bottom leg and move from this position. Test to get your perfect spot here and breathe. All right, and let's release that. Shake it out. Maybe stretch long. And then take your time and come up to standing position. And once you're up there, we'll do a little bit of balance and a few more stretches. All right. So let's just position ourselves here. Let's just do a little bit more of that, dropping one knee and the other, moving side to side, getting some nice rocking happening here. And then you're going to be in standing position. You're going to shift your weight so that you're supporting it on one side. You pick whatever side you're starting with. So the leg that's going to support you is going to have that soft knee again. If your knee is buckled, it won't support you as well. So soften the knee, but tighten the muscles in the bum, because this leg is going to support you as your other foot comes forward and then sweeps around into a semicircle and comes back. Same side, 3 more times. Point forward, sweep around, and come back. 2 more times. Forward, and a slow sweep will be much more difficult than a fast sweep. And last time, here we go. And bring that back. Release it a little bit. And then let's move to the other side. So the knee is soft, the bum is nice and strong to support the weight. What we want to make sure is we don't slip out sideways here. We want to keep this hip nicely tucked in and we're nice and strong as we point forward and sweep and back. Hands can be wherever you want them to be. 2 more. Point and sweep. Doing double duty with this one because not only are we working on the balance, we're getting this range of motion through that hip joint. So drop one knee and the other. You're going to now, this exercise, I'll just show you for a moment. It's a little bit of a balance exercise as well. So again, you're going to support yourself on that one leg the same way you did. You're going to take a step forward. You're going to do lots of air time, and you're going to step back. The other foot doesn't really move much, but this leg is going to come forward and back. The more air time you get with the leg as you transition, the more it will work your balance. So you decide how much you want here as you come forward and back. Couple more sequences. Here we go. Forward, back, and forward, back. Bring that foot back, and let's do the same on the other. Let's get ready to go. Always take a moment to position yourself. The knee is soft, the bum is not. So here we go, and we're stepping forward and back, and repeat. Nice and slow, lots of air time here as we go through. I just caught myself going a little too fast, so I slowed it down. Go. More times. And last time, here we go. Forward and back and back to this position. All right. Let's hope that helps us with that. So actually, I stuck a little something else into this class today, and that was we did do quite a bit of loosening around the shoulders when we started. I always do that in my classes, but particularly now we really need that because I don't know if you're like me, but I've been spending a lot more time on devices. And so we tend to go into this position. And so we need a little bit more movement right now to counteract those efforts. So let's do one more of those. Here, stand sideways so you can see me. You're going to bring your arms up and forward, and they're equidistant from your shoulders. So they're not moving in together, and they're not moving wide. They're just straight out here. And then you're going to keep one arm forward as you move. One arm, sweep it back here. Your eyes can follow your hand if that's comfortable for you. You're getting a nice opening through the front of the chest and the shoulder, and you're bringing that one back. Let's take that same move to the other side. We're opening out and open and back. You try to keep your hips facing forward so that most of the movement will be coming from your upper back and shoulder area, and bring that back. And another last time on this side, and bring that back and shake it out. All right, let's just stretch out the arms a little bit. When we're on all fours, we were using a little bit of our arms. So let's stretch out You're bringing one arm across the chest. You're really looking for a pull in the back of the shoulder here. You're going to turn your head toward that same shoulder that's being stretched. And then once you're in position, release the tension in your hand. So you're just looking for a nice stretch across the back of the shoulder here and the front. And come out of that. Arm goes across the front. Other arm, goes across the front, getting a nice pull here. Head over that shoulder. Release the tension in the hand. And release that. Taking your hands, clasping them, you're going to press away from you and low. And then flip your hands and act as though you're trying to pull those fingers apart. You'll feel a little stretch at the lower neck and upper back that you didn't feel before. And that. And let it go. Let's do a little bit more for the hands. So you're going to pull your fingertips back this way. Don't be too aggressive about this. You can do damage if you do that. But this is kind of nice considering the device work we've been doing. So just pull back on that assertively, but not aggressively. And then flip the hand and provide some pressure to the back of it so that you're feeling it along these muscles and tendons leading up to the elbow. Hold this one maybe a little bit longer. And release, shake it out. Let's go to the other hand. Let's do a nice stretch on that wrist. And flip the hand. And a nice stretch all through here. And shake that out. You're going to bring your arms out straight. Maybe stretch your hands as well, only because that feels good. Bring your elbows into the side and then tilt the chin forward and hold it. And release, shake it out. And I usually end my classes with 3 deep breaths. We want the breaths to be deep enough that we're actually getting some movement through the rib cage. So let's just do a little practice one first. So find the side of your ribs and take a breath in, a really deep breath, such that you actually feel the rib cage expand out here. And release. That's how deeply we want to be breathing as we take our 3 deep breaths. So find a comfortable position and filling those lungs. And release. A couple more nice deep breaths. There's no such thing as a ladylike deep breath. So if you can't hear yourself, take a little deeper. Here we go. Last time. And we're done. Shanti.